it existed until 2019 when it was comprehensively thrown out by Boris Johnson. The dream of 1945, as we see it from this place, he will be shot at ruthlessly from today.
We're in the library here at Dartington, and this time I'm joined by writer, bon vivant, raconteur, market researcher as well, Peter York. Peter, how are you doing? You're right.
Well, I'm forging ahead in a very dynamic yet caring and inclusive way. I used to say dynamic and caring in the Barry Humphries style, but now I say inclusive. So I'm letting everybody in.
Excellent. You could almost be a politician, Peter. What do you think Keir Starmer has to do? What are his greatest challenges now that he's Prime Minister?
His greatest challenge is, well, the ghastly state of everything. The ghastly state of this country, which means your room for manoeuvre is terribly limited. The ghastly state of the world, which means there are things you will want to change, but you can't because they're originated elsewhere. The powers are elsewhere in what's happening to the EU, what's about to happen to America, which looks almost like civil war, very likely a sort of civil war. You can't do anything about that, but that will bear on our economy, our defence institutions, all that stuff. His real room for manoeuvre in all those ways is terribly limited, but he can do what he was talking about, on the steps of number 10, try and change the weather about what public service is, try and restore people's trust and belief in it, and say they're not all the same.
And he talked, didn't he, when he accepted the prime ministership, about uniting the country and finding the things within this country that are good and that are positive. What are those things?
Well, it's common decency is I think the right expression, the one that he's seeking to go, and the idea that we often fooled ourselves about it, that we are commonly decent, that we are commonly honest and commonly humorous. And that we don't go into great intellectual flights of delusion like what other people do.
Is that just a nostalgic fancy, though? I'm thinking of John Major evoking cricket fields and glasses of beer on it.
Absolutely. I know what you mean then. But we now talk about nostalgia. What is nostalgia? It's John Major, the existence of John Major. John Major's, I don't know, did he grow up as a circus clown or something? Whatever. The whole idea. When you see John Major now, you smile. You think, decent cove. I may be wrong. This may be nostalgia, but I know about that speech, of course. Did he write it himself or any of that? But I sort of believe in John Major.
Yeah, Major kind of evoked a particular kind, perhaps not even of Britishness, but of Englishness.
Complete Englishness. He evoked a certain kind of Englishness, which you felt you could trust. But remember, there was a whole group of, quotes, One Nation Tories who you could have an argument with in good faith in the broad church of the Conservative power structure, etc. And it existed until 2019 when it was comprehensively thrown out by Boris Johnson, who pretended to be that sort of person. He would say, I am a One Nation Tory, because he knew lots of One Nation Tories and he got them in his family, and he thought it was a good move to say that he was One Nation Tory, but in fact, he was only a Tory for Boris.
Yeah, talked about being a One Nation Tory whilst getting rid of, I think, 21 One Nation Tories from the Conservative Party.
Exactly so.
At the time.
And it's so interesting to hear what they thought about him.
Do you think, at heart, Keir Starmer is a One Nation Tory?
He might be, in a sense. Look, when the job was up for competition, so to speak, we're talking about the back end of 2019, and he was in consideration, and I didn't know anything about him. But the style of him seemed, sort of the dullness. I liked the dullness. We didn't hear him then, so we didn't know that he was rather adenoidal, but I liked the dullness. But by great good fortune, I happened to have a barrister friend who had worked with him before the DPP thing, all that. I knew him when he was a relatively young human rights lawyer, and who said, he's wonderful. He's absolutely wonderful, very decent, as honest as the day is long, genuinely working class, which was then, quite a thing, amongst high-end Labour politicians, genuinely working class, but from a working class, leftist, progressive family, and that's why he's called Keir. The very obvious thing that he was the dream of 1945, as we see it from this place, and Lord Young of Dartington, very closely associated with this place, who also happens to be the father of Toby Young.
Well, the journalist
it's a thought,
and writer.
Isn't it? It shows you
not a One Nation Tory.
Things can go up as well as down, or down as well as up. But anyway, my friend described Keir Starmer in glowing terms, so I thought, well, that's the one for me. If I had a vote for him, I would vote for him.